So a lot of fresh graduates have been trying to apply to companies such as Stripe, American Express, J.P. Morgan. Uh, let's let's start with Stripe first. What's really the process of the online assessment? Is it like lead code?
Well, the funny thing about Stripe is that it's actually not lead code.
Yeah.
Many people think that it's lead code, but basically, what they really test you on is basically you have a problem. Let's say you have a GitHub issue. You look into that problem, and you kind of have to figure out what the issue is and write a function that kind of solves this issue and that accepts arguments, dependency injection. And you kind of output something at the end. So this is what Stripe actually does eventually.
How is it different from conventional technical interviews such as um, the ones at Amazon or TikTok?
Well, mm, next question.
What's the best way to prepare for an interview at Stripe?
Well, there is actually no way to prepare for a Stripe interview, as far as I know. You just have to have it in you.
Is there any place that aspiring applicants can find motivation or any guidance?
Well, motivation is, well, it depends, like some people really look into like online advice. Maybe you were watching like a really popular tech influencer, like Climate talks about, oh, bet on yourself. And you'll be like, oh yeah. And you use that motivation. Or maybe you'll be like into like Andrew Huberman and you really learn about neuroplasticity, whatever. The key thing is that a friend of mine that got recently employed, he actually told me that you actually need to, whatever motivation motivates you, just use that and put in the hard work, and you're guaranteed to succeed. I feel like it's such a deep, like, it sounds so obvious, but it's so deep. Uh, yeah.
That I feel like that would really resonate with a lot of people out there, and for anyone who is about to take in, like go in for an online assessment or an exam, and they feel underprepared, and there's, let's say, about 600 slides worth of information, and they were preparing for that. How would you say they prepare themselves best to succeed? Is there any special book that they need to read from?
Well, I don't really want to sound as a religious fanatic or whatever, but like I've been in this situation, in that exact situation. I had 600 slides to study. I had a midterm the next morning. And what actually saved me is God.
How so?
So it happens that my friend is a really religious guy, and he happened to drop off Quran book right in front of me. He's like, bro, read it. And I was like, yo, like, okay. Like I'm cooked, but like I can read that. And I just touched, I just read it. I just read the first page and then I just forget about it, like, whatever. I was preparing, And then the next morning, I go to test. I go to the midterm and I see the questions and I'm like, yo, this is the easiest exam of my life.
And just because you read the religious book?
Yeah, it's a part of it's a part of what made the exam so much easier.
Which book would you say, if let's say applicants were strained for time and they could only read one book out of two, which one would you say? The religious book or Designing Data Intensive Applications by Martin Kleppmann?
Well, I would say read both, but I would also add one more book. It's actually it's actually a really fundamental old book. It's not even a book, it's a collection of notes. It's Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. So whenever you feel discouraged while you're reading the Designing Data Intensive Applications by Martin Kleppmann, and you learn about distributed systems and load balancers, whatever, like the Zookeeper.
How does a load balancer work?
Well, this is a question for another podcast, I think, because it's really a lot to unpack in one concept. Well, the granularity of the concept is so deep.
And would you, this concept, is it impotent, or are you saying there's a race condition in this episode of the podcast?
Yeah. Well, as some junior developers might say, oh, but I have a lot on my plate, I struggle. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
But the senior developer would say, wow, this is a nice challenge.
Exactly. I think really you just take on that, and from my personal experience, take on the challenge, integrate Postgres, MySQL with Kafka, and have Redis Cloudflare Edge Network deployed to Vercel. But really, what the secret sauce, what is the key ingredient? Really, it's in the name. It's an OpenAI API key. If you have that, I feel like you're destined for success. So.
I wouldn't really necessarily say Vercel. I really prefer using AWS EC2 over Vercel, just because it's better for scaling.
Horizontal or vertical?
Well, I would say horizontal because it's always better.
How do you know when to stop? Tell me when to stop.
I remember one girl, it was my sophomore year in college. I was in the UC Austin. And that girl said, the girth, the width matters more than the weight.